Hi, I'm Louisa and I'm going to go through a few things that you can do in a relaxation or semi-supine position just to keep your practice going at home during the holidays. So you just need your mat. If you have any small props such as head cushions, balls or bands, you might want them nearby. Even just a small cushion off the sofa or a thin pillow or folded up towel would be a really good job for head support if needed as well. And maybe a chunky cushion if you need anything between the knees. We're going to use a band for a few things. If you don't have a band, you could do the same movements without, or maybe an old stretchy scarf or pair of tights would do a similar job if needed as well. So we'll head to the mat. I've just got a really thin cushion, it's about 1 inch thick. I'm going to use that just under my head to help with head and neck alignment. So a good habit is to come onto your side, then lie down. I've got my knees bent, and then I'm going to gently just roll onto my back. So once I'm here, I'm going to get myself organised. First thing is to find our neutral pelvis. So you can feel those hip bones at the front. Just check they're level with each other by letting your fingertips just run across and see if they line up. And then you can lightly place heel of the hand on your hip bones, fingertips down towards pubic bone, thumbs towards belly button, and we're looking for a place where those points are pretty level with each other, so it just maintains your natural lumbar curve. So once we've got that organised, we'll try and get the legs in line with those hip bones, so hip bones, knees, ankles and feet are in alignment. And then for the head, the cushion is under your head rather than your neck if needed, because we're looking for parallel roughly between the forehead and the chin, so that you've got the natural curve for your neck supported. We don't want the head tipping back and the chin lifting up, and we don't want the chin really squashing down towards the throat. So all those body weights can release down to the mat. Once you're there, you could have hands resting on the body, maybe feeling side of the ribs to breathe, or just have them down by your side. So once we're here, let's just come back into our breath. You can take that breath in through the nose, fill up the sides, the front, the back of the ribs, and then softening out through mouth or through nose. So just give yourself a few moments to settle at your pace of breath. And as you do so, the next few times you breathe out, you can begin to very gently just engage your center. So finding that little scoop of the tummy, sometimes a little lift of the pelvic floor from back to front and up as well, but just as much as you need without adding any tension elsewhere. So we'll run through a few pelvic stability things, which I'm sure will be familiar for most of you. It can be really helpful just to have your hands on your hip bones, so you're going to feel for yourself if the pelvis shifts as we do these movements. So the first thing is a knee drop. So you take your breath in. As you're breathing out and engaging your tummy, you can gently open one leg to the side. So I'm trying to keep the other leg still and the pelvis steady. And I'm going to inhale to bring it back. And then resetting. As you're breathing out, centering, you can open the other leg, keep the other leg steady, hips square, and then inhale to gather back. It's not about how far we might be moving that leg or not. It's about really keeping everything else well organised and just moving the pieces that we're intending to. So try that a few times. I'm going to just do 1 or 2 more each side. Watch we don't let tension creep up elsewhere while our focus heads somewhere else. So exhaling to open and inhaling to come back. And then next we'll review our leg slide. So we'll keep the leg in contact with the floor or the mat as you slide. Just be aware you might need to increase that centering a little bit, so as the leg goes away, the back doesn't arch with it. And that goes something like this. So as you're breathing out, centering, you're gently sliding one leg away without letting the back arch. You can inhale, flex from your ankle, exhale, soften, and then sliding that leg back again. So ideally coming back to where you started from. and then other side. So you're breathing out, centering, you're sliding one leg, inhale, flex, exhale, soften, and then sliding that leg back again. So see how that goes, and we're trying to keep that alignment, the hip, the knee and the foot are aligned. Sometimes they might start to turn in, turn out, so if you can glance, or maybe you've got a mirror or someone else to help you check that, that would be really handy. So just sliding away, inhale to flex without arching the back, exhale to soften back. Gonna just do one more, make sure you've evened up with yours, and then we'll come back to that start position. So for the upper body, you can bring hands to shoulders and just start to move the shoulder joint around. So I'm just got my arms bent and I'm drawing a little circle in the shoulders with the upper arm in the shoulders. Just a comfortable range, not forcing, we're just beginning to try and loosen things up a little bit here. I tend to focus more on the opening, but you can go in either direction. Maybe you want to have one going one way, one going the other way, requires a little bit more coordination. And then we'll go through some shoulder drops and ribcage closure. So we can let the arms come up in line with your shoulders. So not too squashed up, not really wide, just in line with your shoulders. And as you inhale, hardly any center, this is just tension release. You can let the arms and the shoulder blades kind of reach upwards towards the ceiling, and then try and keep the arms long. So as you breathe out, you're just letting the shoulder blades glide or melt back down to the mat. So you're inhaling to reach up, exhaling to soften down. It might be tempting for those shoulders to creep up to your ears. Our intention is just to let them know that there's another place they can hang out. So we just want to find a little bit more ease around the neck and the shoulders and get those shoulder blades moving. You could do one at a time if you prefer, or you can do both at the same time. And once you've done a few of those, the arms can come long by your side. If your shoulders feel delicate, you may prefer to have arms and palms facing in towards you. Otherwise, you could have arms and palms facing down to the floor. So feel that width across the front and back of the chest. So we're not squashed up, our body weights are heavy to the mat. And we'll go over our ribcage closure movement. If this is not so familiar for you, you might want to inhale and kind of find that shoulder drop range where the arms and palms face away or in. And then exhale, just reconnecting to your center as you float your long arms back without letting a single rib peel away from the mat or hunching up your shoulders. And then we'll inhale to bring that back again. So you could break it down with an inhale, arms in line with shoulders, exhale, center, and then floating the arms back, keep the ribs heavy, arms into shoulders. If you're more familiar with it or more used to this, you could do the movement on, the whole movement on an exhale. So as you're breathing out, centering, you're floating both arms back, and then we can inhale to return. See how you go, see which arm position suits you, which breath pattern, and how long you take for the movement, and see what works best for you. If that's going okay, we'll do a little bit of coordination with one leg slide and an opposite ribcage closure. So this goes something like that. So I'm going to turn arms and palms facing inwards now. So as you're breathing out, centering, one leg slides away, opposite arm ribcage closure. Inhale, you can flex from the ankle and leave your arm where it is. Exhale, soften from the ankle, and then you bring the arm and the leg back to your start position. This is called Starfish. So as you're breathing out, centering, those opposite limbs are sliding away. The hips, shoulders, torso stay square. Inhale, flex from the ankle, and then you exhale, bring it back. I'll just do one more of those each side. You might want to pause and do a few more. Great. Really nice. And although these pelvic stability exercises are probably quite familiar, quite maybe simple for some of you, they're such an important building block and foundation for the rest of our mat work. you want to challenge things, you might try some with the overball, just the squishy overball, soft deflated ball under your pelvis, as long as you keep everything else in alignment. So that's going to make it a lot harder for things like your knee drops and your leg slides. And we could also add a band for the upper body, so I'm going to just go through those options now. So if we bring arms in our shoulder drop position and hold a band, depends what tension it is, how long it is, you may want to fold it up, it might be enough just as you are, but you can bring the arms up in line with shoulders, however it suits. Might be arms and palms away, arms and palms facing in, and you can scrunch up the ends of the band. But remember how you got organised from your shoulder drop, so we're going to try and re-establish that. And initially, when you next breathe out and centre, just slightly pull that band apart, and hopefully you feel that reaction, that connection of the waist cinching in and the ribs softening down, and then in how you can gently release from there. So it might be subtle depending on the tension of the band, and the pull is with the entire arms, not just with elbows or wrists. So if you're feeling that without adding tension, and it's helpful for you to perhaps feel your centre kicking in a little bit more, you could pull on the band and do things like your knee drop to each side, and that's going to work your centre a little bit more because you haven't got the arms down by your side to help you. So as I'm breathing out, centering, I'm pulling on the band and doing a single knee drop. You could also do an opposite band pull, an opposite knee drop. So as you're breathing out, centering, I'm trying to open right leg, knee drop, left arm is pulling, and then you gather back, and then I'm going to try now to do left leg, knee drop, right arm pulling, but hips and shoulders stay square. So you've just got those opposite limbs moving away from your midline. Okay, if you wanted to use the band pull, you could add that to the ribcage closure. Maybe you add that to a ribcage closure as well as your leg slides. So before we move on, I'm going to switch bands because that one's quite short, and we'll do a little bit of hip mobility work, and then we'll get the spine moving. So to lift a limb away from the mat, we're going to need a little bit more engagement from our tummy. So we can just check in how that goes. I'm just holding my band ready. So as you're breathing out, centering, I'm floating one leg into a single knee fold without changing the shape of my spine. Okay, this might be hard if this is new for you. So we could use the band. I'm just bringing the band around the back of my thigh to support the weight of my leg. Elbows down, forearms up. So I'm not yanking the leg up with the band, but it will give you a little bit of assistance if this is a bit newer for you. So it does help offload it a little bit. And if this is okay, you could just get the knee in line with your hip, shin and the foot soft, other leg might stay bent or straight, pelvis is definitely steady, and as you're breathing out, centering, we're just stirring that leg in your hip joint. We're going to do about 4 or 5 in each direction, so that we're not rocking the pelvis or letting the other leg rock around. I'm trying not to drag with the upper body, I'm just trying to stir right in my hip joint. And then you can come back to that start position. Some of you might prefer to keep the band where it is, and you could just bring your shin up and then just begin to explore extending that leg, so beginning to find some length in a bit of hamstring stretching, piston type movement. The other option is you may wish to pop that band around your foot. If it's long enough, you could cross it over the arch or ball of the foot. I'm going to try to do that here, and have the sides of the band either side of your leg. So hip, knee and ankle are aligned. And as we're breathing out, centering, you can just press that leg away, and I'm resisting to come back in. So leg press or piston type movement, and keeping the pelvis super steady. We'll try a couple more of those. That's lovely. If it's comfortable having the leg long, you could linger there. You might want to bring it up a little higher without squashing your leg back into the mat. You could move, point and flex from the ankle. So just give yourself a couple of breaths there. And then we'll change over to do the same on the other side. So you can bend the leg, remove the band, reset, and then that second leg can come into your knee fold. Support the back of the thigh with the band. So elbows down, forearms up, shin and foot soft. Okay, we've already worked on our knee folds. Hips are square, breathing, scooping, centering, just stirring that thigh around in the hip joint, trying to keep everything else steady. I'm going to do about 4 or 5 of those each way. Watch we're not letting tension creep up to the upper body. And then we can finish those off. And then as before, you might prefer to keep the band behind the thigh. Just let the shin come to around, parallel, soft foot. You can see how it feels to extend the leg. You might lower in the hip joint a little bit. You could slacken off the band, or you might be comfortable to wrap that band around the arch of your foot, or the ball of the foot. Cross it if you've got the length there, and either side of the band, either side of the leg. So knee is in line with the hip, and hint of flex from the ankle, shin parallel, and as you're breathing out and centering, you're pressing that leg away. And then we're gently resisting against the tension of the band to bring it back in. You can kind of glance down and check if your alignment is remaining in parallel. So our leg press and piston movements in about 5. If it's comfortable to keep that leg lengthened, you can do. You might want to raise it up a little higher, but keep the hips and the pelvis square. Maybe you can flex and point from the ankle. And just give yourself a few breaths there. Really nice. Once you're finished, we can come back in, just gently remove the band. We're going to pop the band to the side. And we'll do a little bit of neck release. Again, your semi-deflated or inflated overball might be comfortable under the head. I'm going to just show you with the cushion for now, but if you have that, you might want to try it. So we've found our alignment of forehead and chin parallel, and we're just going to nod yes a few times. So I'm really lengthening the back of the neck without squashing the throat. And then finding that parallel alignment, you can gently let your head turn no a few times. And try not to squash chin down to shoulder. So your eyes have got almost glancing round in like an even arc type shape. It might be comfortable to bring your head to the side and then nod a few times. And then over to the other side and then nod a few times. And then from here, we're going to do our bridge or our spine curl movement. If you have a ball or chunky cushion, might be helpful to give yourself a bit of extra support by using that between the inner thighs or between the knees, just to help you keep hip width. With this one, you may not need your head support, so try it, and if you feel like your head or neck is a little bit squished, you can just get rid of it for this exercise. So we're well aligned in neutral, parallel. You might want feet a little closer to your bottom if that's okay for knees. Shoulders wide, arms long. So we're trying to bridge, lifting and lowering the spine in one piece first. So as you're breathing out, centering, stand into the mat to lengthen and lift your spine and pelvis up. Breath at the top, let's lengthen and lower your long spine back down. So I've decided actually I'd rather not have the cushion for that one. So I'm going to try that again now. So as you're breathing out, centering, you can lengthen and lift up. Take a breath, keep scooped, lengthen and lower down. If you're not quite sure where to get to, we're trying to get to neutral again once we're lifted. Pop the heel of your hand in your hip crease so your fingertips are pointing up towards your knees, and slide your hands up your thighs as you lift. And our neutral will be, we've pretty much filled in that gap, and then floating it back down. So this is our neutral bridge. It may be comfortable for you to roll up and down into this shape as in a spine curl. So I'll show you that. You could still do hands up the thighs if that helps you out. I'm just going to bring mine down so you might be able to see a little bit better. So as we're breathing out, centering, I'm just going into a little pelvic tilt and then trying to wheel and peel my pelvis and spine up one vertebrae at a time. Breath at the top, and then rolling the spine back down one vertebrae at a time. Watch we're not tensing up through the shoulders. So as you're breathing out, centering, we're rolling up, finding that real length out through the thighs. Breath at the top, roll it back down again. If this is going okay, next time you get there, we can just pause for a moment and do a couple of little check-ins. One might be softening the ribs, make sure we're not arching the back. The other one might be a little hint of a pelvic tilt or tucking the tailbone underneath you. And then release it back down. We're going to do 2 more with the ribcage closure for the last couple. So you can roll up or lift up in one piece as you're breathing out, centering. Inhale, float the arms, either shoulder drop or up and over to your ribcage closure. Exhale, roll or float that spine back down again. Once the pelvis lands, arms come back. Let's do one more. So we're rolling that spine up, maybe floating the arms as you inhale, leaving the arms as you roll the spine all the way back down, and then the arms can return. Once you've landed, you might want your head cushion back as well. If you had anything between the knees or the thighs, we can remove it, and we'll just do some hip rolls. Try not to drop my ball. So for hip rolls, we will glue our legs and feet together as if they're one unit, or you're gently squeezing the legs together. On the floor, you could have arms and palms up a little wider than I will do on here. Mine are going to be quite close to me, but you could open up the upper body a little bit more. So we'll inhale to take your breath in. As you're breathing out and centering, let pelvis and legs tip over one way. You might want to keep your head centered or let your head turn the other way, and then we control everything back to the center from there. Okay, so other way, as you're breathing out, centering, pelvis and legs go one way, head possibly the other way. Take a breath when you get there, and then we're slowly controlling it back from our center. We're not just letting the weight of our legs drag us over, we're keeping that control, and we're keeping that connection of the upper back to the mat. You might notice that my legs and feet are so glued together that one foot leaves the mat because it's stuck to the other one as I'm moving. So you can stay with keeping the legs and the feet glued. Another alternative is to do this movement, this hip roll movement with knee rolls. So when you're back in the center, take the legs quite wide. My feet are pretty close to the edge of the mat. And then from your hips, just let the legs kind of sway from the hip joints, like wiper type movement. It might be hard to keep the pelvis steady, but just kind of check in with that. Your feet are going to move as well. They don't have to stay glued to the mat. If that's feeling okay, see how that feels to add that to your hip roll movement, and then slowly controlling it back. Okay, so I've got pelvis and legs one way, maybe head the other. Still controlling it from your tummy. Upper back staying connected to the mat. See which one you prefer. I'll just do one more each way. Lovely. And then once you finish, you can bring everything back to the center. You might feel that you'd perhaps like to hug the legs in, under or over the knees, do a little rock. Or you might feel that you perhaps like to slide the legs away. Perhaps you want to take a stretch. And then from there, you can gather back in, just roll onto your side and perhaps give yourself a moment there before you slowly bring yourself up to a comfortable seat. So I hope that's really helpful for you to do a little bit of practice in a relaxation position. Let me know how you get on and have a lovely summer. Thank you. Bye-bye.